Wrecked. The writers decide to do an episode assisting in the war on drugs. The war on magic. The war on magic drugs.
Technically, if you're using them right, every drug is magic. Not that I would know. We open with Dawn and Tara waking up, meaning Dawn's plan to wait at the house until Willow came back did not work.
Tara says she's sure Willow's fine and just lost track of time, even though people get killed by monsters pretty much every day in Sunnydale.
They also note that Buffy did not come home either, and wonder where she is.
And it turns out she's waking up in the wrecked house where she and Spike banged last episode, and is immediately overcome with revulsion.
Spike is pleased with the events of the night, and I was pleased that my clairvoyant license is valid, because Buffy immediately launches into how last night didn't mean anything, and that it's all over.
Spike dares Buffy to stick around, but she tells him that if he dares to tell anyone that they banged, she'll kill him, just like how she killed him all the other times that she threatened to do so.
Back at the house, Willow and Amy show up after their night on the town, and Tara is instantly distraught, not just at seeing Willow, but knowing that Amy is Willow's new gal pal.
And she's also upset about how Amy brags about how much Willow dared to do with magic.
So Tara leaves. What a Buffy.
Buffy arrives covered in bruises and says she was fighting all night. And Amy says that she should go home because her dad's expecting her, but last episode, she didn't dare to go back to her own house.
Yeah, why would her dad be expecting her if she disappeared 5 years ago and hasn't made any contact yet? She seemed way too casual about it.
Buffy writers respond in the comments. Buffy and Willow head upstairs to go to sleep, and Willow tries to use magic to close the curtains, but it doesn't work.
And I was surprised she actually got up to do it manually. At the magic shop, Anya and Xander are researching who or what could have robbed the museum in the last episode, and Xander is doing real research, but Anya dares to defy him, and is actually researching what she wants for their wedding.
Buffy mentions Willow having been out all night, and ends up defending her, saying she doesn't need a chaperone and must have reasons for her behavior. And the camera slowly dollies in on Buffy as she makes her emphatic arguments, because this show is very subtle.
I described it as projectile projecting. That night, Willow and Amy are hanging out again, and Willow says she's temporarily burned out with magic.
She says it took all day to get her magic powers back, even though it never seemed to work that way before this episode.
Pretty daring of the writers to go in a different direction like that.
Amy says she knows about a guy who can do spells that last for days and don't burn out the user, which made me think about Jonathan back in Superstar, and the way that spell seemed to have no negative consequences to himself whatsoever.
Or the entire world.
Well, yeah. Willow asks if going to this guy is dangerous, and when Amy asks, would that stop you? Willow doesn't answer, because this show is very subtle.
In an alleyway, they walk through an invisible wall that they can both sense.
Into what looks like a druggie den, or my old middle school. It's hard to tell the difference. Amy says it's cloaked and moves around a lot, so I wondered how people would know where to find it.
They meet the dealer, Rack,
who is creepy.
And I recognized him from that X-Files episode that was the thing when they were in the ice station.
And I recognized him from gym class at my old middle school. He says he can feel a lot of power in Willow, and dares to put his hand on her chest to, quote, feel her out. And some magic thing happens.
Then there's a big 2000s magic drug montage.
He makes Amy spin in circles, and Willow plaster herself against the ceiling. And she seems to see the ground turning into plants, which I thought was going to be important somehow, but it's not. But the parallels to drug use were, again, very subtle. I barely picked up on them.
Is that what was going on?
And Willow seems to be enjoying herself at first, but then she seems to see someone getting dragged away, which now that I think about it doesn't go anywhere. And then a monster roars at her, and she falls to the ground. And she seems to teleport around to different places, which I also thought was going to go somewhere, but it doesn't.
Pretty bold of you to dare to hope that things make sense in the show. And the whole episode ends with her freaking out and waking up back at the house, crying in the shower.
Oh, episode. I thought you meant the episode of the show.
If only.
And she magics some of Tara's clothes to life so they can hold her, which was maybe the most unintentionally goofy thing that has ever happened in this show. It was so funny and so dumb.
Yeah, I couldn't stop laughing.
Some unknown time later, Dawn exchanges some inane dialogue with Willow and confirms that Willow will be around that night to hang out with her.
Willow says they can go to a movie, so they leave. And Buffy comes home later to find nobody, but a bunch of rooms are trashed, and she finds a sneaking around Amy, who dared to enter an unoccupied house.
Amy has a bag of green that she says is sage, which turns out to be true, which carries the drug metaphor into self-parody territory. Just what I was hoping for. Buffy interrogates her and finds out that she was stealing other items to use for magic too, and Amy says that Willow apparently took Dawn with her to Rax. And Amy says she doesn't know where Rax's place will be, and that you just have to feel it out, which I guess kind of answered my question from earlier, but it seems implausible that people would keep finding him if you have to just wander around randomly. And what if you just happen to walk through the barrier when you're not looking for it?
And what is the area in which his place can appear? Is it spread over the entire town, the entire state, one section?
It seems like he would have trouble maintaining his customer base.
Clearly, you've never been an addict.
The only thing I've ever been addicted to was Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I knew you were going to say that. Willow and Dawn are actually on their way to the movie.
Which means they are just wandering around the uber-safe Sunnydale streets at night. And Dawn gets some patented Joss Whedon dialogue.
The burger was good. You liked it?
Are you kidding? It was like a meat party in my mouth. Okay, now I'm just a kid, and even I know that came out wrong.
Willow dances around, asking about Tara, and then tells Dawn they have to make one quick stop, and they pop into Rax's hideout. Willow goes into the back, daring to leave Dawn in the waiting room by herself.
And Dawn barely even questions where they are or what they're doing. She's just kind of like, well, it's kind of weird, but okay.
Well, she probably said, well, this kind of looks like my middle school, so I guess it's okay.
Okay, that makes sense. Rax shoots Willow with magic, and she seems to feel herself floating in space or something when she sees the monster that roared at her earlier carrying a woman, and we never find out what that's about. Spoiler.
Buffy has been searching, apparently for hours, for Dawn, and has also not contacted Xander, Anya, or Tara, and it seems like she would if Dawn was missing.
But this is an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the writers needed a reason for her to go to Spike's alone. And of course, Spike is naked, because this is an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Spike knows about Rack, and while he says he'll go help Buffy search for Dawn, he also tries to get into her pants.
Willow finally comes out of Rack's office, and Dawn says it's too late to go to the movie now, and she just wants to go home. But Willow keeps acting giddy and weird, and we see the monster from her visions following them.
As they're walking down dark back alleys. I'm not even sure where they were going at that point. As they're searching, Buffy suspects that Spike might be daring to drag things out just to be around her, and she warns him not to do that. And they have a conversation that we haven't seen in this show before. It's very unique and interesting, where she says, no, I was being honest, where she says that their time together means nothing, and that she's disgusted by him and wants him out of her life. It's very moving.
And Spike tells Buffy that he knows she'll start craving him again, and he might even dare to bite her if she doesn't stop being such a bitch. His words. Which raised the question for me of why doesn't he just turn her into a vampire? Would that solve all his problems of her constantly pushing him away? Plus he could brag about how he turned a Slayer into a vampire?
Yeah.
And that would be an interesting direction for the show to go in. I mean, they already killed Buffy. Why not do this? I don't know.
Willow was bummed at Dawn for being such a downer, and I was too.
When they are confronted by the monster, who tells Willow that she summoned him with her magic use. And the monster proves to be something of a pansy when he gets easily pushed away by Dawn.
Yeah, just her foot. She kind of just sticks out her leg, and he runs right into it and falls down.
Willow dares to use her magic to hijack a car, and we actually get a DUI scene that ends with Willow crashing the car. It was very intelligent writing.
The title of this episode really should have been Subtle.
Dawn gets out of the car and gets jumped by the monster, but once again very easily pushes him away, and then starts crawling under the car instead of trying to run away or something.
And I questioned why it waited for them to wake up. It was actively chasing them. They crashed. They had both been knocked out. They woke up, and then the monster was like, "No, I'm going to get you."
Okay, I didn't take it as being that long. I took it as like he was still running after him and just got there. I don't know. I mean, there was a commercial break, but I don't think it was real time.
Clearly, you've never been in a DUI accident.
Well, that's true. I only do my drugs at home.
Well, that's responsible.
Exactly. It's the difference between me and the characters in this show. I do my drugs at home.
See, now that line is out in the world. It is on the internet.
I didn't say which ones. It's okay. I didn't say whether they were illegal or very illegal. Buffy and Spike hear Dawn's squeals, even though they apparently didn't hear the car crash, and they go running to check it out. And Buffy goes to fight the monster, while Spike sees to Dawn.
Buffy doesn't really do a good job, and eventually Willow wakes up and dares to use fire magic.
And Willow's eyes are black. Dawn tells Buffy what happened, and Buffy tells her to stay away from Willow. And when Willow tries to apologize, Dawn slaps her.
Spike takes Dawn, maybe to the hospital? I don't know, they're all just walking down dark alleys.
And Buffy chastises Willow for being such a weak character.
Willow completely breaks down and says both she and the writers need help.
Could this episode possibly be more on the nose? That's a rhetorical question because the answer is no. Buffy takes Willow home, where she tells her that Dawn's arm is broken, I think. She doesn't specify, she just says there was a fracture.
And Willow reveals to Buffy that even though everything between her and Tara seemed fine, Tara left because of her magic overuse.
Which I kind of figured everybody already assumed, but I guess not. Buffy says that things seem to be going so well with them before, but Willow points out that this is an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so when a relationship is going well, the writers will awkwardly shove in some artificial problem.
Buffy says Willow doesn't need magic to be special, but Willow denies that, saying she was a way cooler character when she had magic.
But then she says she's done with magic, and she's going to give it up altogether. And from the subtle looks on Buffy's face, we can see that she's definitely not thinking about how that conversation relates to her and Spike.
And we end with Willow going through symptoms of withdrawal. What an uplifting episode.
And Buffy just sits awake holding a cross, which was not as impactful but not as stupid either. But still dumb. Wrecked. Overall?
Not subtle, but pretty heavy subject matter. Having a drug addiction episode was an interesting choice. We've already had an alcohol episode, so I guess it makes sense. But it was a bummer how everything was seemingly resolved in less than an hour. Willow went through every step of elation, crashing, self-realization, and withdrawal in one episode. It was pretty ridiculous, because I cured my addiction in half that time. I thought at first that maybe this was Amy's plan to destroy Willow as revenge, but Amy seemed just as addicted, so I guess not. And I assume that she's going to keep stealing and whatnot to feed her addiction. It would be pretty dumb to not have her and or Rack show up again. And Amy stealing sage and mentioning other spices, used for magic. You don't have to break into someone's house. It's not expensive. Those things aren't expensive. Just go to the store.
Yeah, but where's she going to get money from? Well, she could magic it up.
Yeah.
Well, couldn't she magic up the sage in the first place? I don't know.
I mean, Willow's throwing open car doors with magic. Why can't Amy just go to freaking Trader Joe's and say unlock and then just walk inside?
Yeah, that's true.
Why does it even have to be closed? Why can't she just shove shit in her pockets? It's not like she's trying to steal a washing machine. She's trying to steal a sprig of rosemary.
And she shouldn't have to wreck anything either, because I would think she could magically detect where it is. I don't know.
I mean, plants f***ing grow. Just go grow some basil. What kind of magic detox therapy is there? How does that work? Is it just going to be Willow saying, I'm not going to use magic? Because that didn't work before. Why would it work now?
Don't question these writers. They know what they're talking about.
I dare. And I guess I have to accept the fact that we're going to have to go through this bullshit Buffy Spike thing for the rest of the show. It's really dumb. And I'm tired of talking about it. I will say, though, this episode was very focused, even if it was not subtle. And that's kind of unusual at this point in the show, because usually they're trying to bounce back and forth between 5 different things. The only time it veered a little bit was when Anya was so focused on the wedding. And that was only a couple minutes. The resolution and payoff to this whole big magic addiction was way too snappy for the enormity of the build-up of Willow is gradually, not organically, but gradually showing her addiction to magic. I was not really satisfied with this episode. I gave it a C.
Okay. I give it a D-. Even with what we've seen in the show up to this point, I wouldn't have expected such a cartoonish depiction of addiction. I half expected Tasha Yar to pop out and start lecturing us directly into the camera. All of the characters were written very stupidly, as in they felt even more like idiots than usual. The stuff with Amy talking about her father didn't match what we got in the previous episode, And her entire situation of having been a rat for all this time seems to have been forgotten already. She's just another side character now. And her acting like she's also addicted in the same way as Willow doesn't fit either, because she never acted that way before. She knew about Rack from before she became a rat, but she wasn't acting like that back then. The stuff with Buffy and Spike played out exactly as expected, except that they didn't get together again at the end of the episode. I guess they're stretching it out over 2 episodes maybe. And Buffy again is saying, I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm sure she'll follow through this time. And we not only had Willow's use of magic standing in for drug addiction, but it was also standing in for Buffy banging Spike. How deep. There's so many layers in this show. The monster that Willow supposedly summoned was so poorly introduced, and then proved to not be much of a threat, and then was just done away with, without any real explanation, and without actually adding anything to the episode. They could have just had Willow tell Dawn that she was going to drive her somewhere, and then crash on her own, and it wouldn't have changed anything. It seemed like they just stuck a monster in because they said we gotta have a monster in there somewhere. And the metaphor of Willow being addicted to magic didn't really work in the first place, because we've never seen Willow try to stop using magic before this. She told Tara that she wouldn't use it anymore, but all the times that she said she was done, it didn't look like she was being tempted to use it again. It looked like she was making a completely conscious and willing decision to use it again. So having her talk about how she tried to give it up and needed an intervention and all that, it just didn't ring true. And then going so far as to show her trembling in the bed at the end just pushed the stupidity of the metaphor into territory that, for me, made this one of the dumbest episodes of the show so far. Not one of the worst, necessarily. It worked in terms of, like, the plot arc, I guess, but it was so heavy-handed and dumb. The fact that it was structured so cleanly, like you were saying, wrapping it all up in one episode, was ridiculous, and was part of what made it so dumb.
Alright, I'll drop to a C-.
Okay. But at least that whole subplot has now been directly addressed by Willow and Buffy, so things might go in a different direction next episode. As far as that part of it goes.
I laughed because I don't believe that.
I know. But see, I'm disappointed at how that whole thing turned out in this episode, because they went in a different direction with it like that. They made Willow seem almost like a victim. But before, it seemed like she was, like I said, doing everything willingly and consciously. So it made it look like things were going to come to more of a confrontational head between her and everybody else. And they did argue, but it ended up being like, oh, you need help, Willow. As opposed to, Willow, you're being a bitch, which is what I was hoping for. So basically, Willow just undid all that on her own because of her own actions, which is lame.
So that's another episode. Do you dare to like and subscribe? Or are you going to be like everyone else and just tell us we don't know what we're talking about?
We also have a Patreon, and I will tell you, drugs are not cheap.
Well, they are if you're just growing thyme in your backyard.
That's not strong enough for me anymore. I need more. I'm moving on to something harder.
Don't tell me oregano.
I'm not going to say it out loud on the internet.
You have a problem.
All right, that's it. I'm leaving.